Hello, how are you? Welcome back. If you're new, my name is Jen, and in this video we're going to do a book review. I am very picky about the books that I choose to review. When I get emails about them, it absolutely has to be one that I know I would have found myself running to the bookstore or the internet bookstore to get for myself anyway. And this was one of those. So when I first saw this, it's called The Deep-Rooted Marriage, Cultivating Intimacy, Healing, and Delight. Now, not gonna lie, just reading the title, I'm like, okay, there's a million books out there on marriage. Why would I spend time reading this one? First thing that caught my attention, Dan Allender. A couple years ago, I remember I'd watched like a documentary on something and he was in that, and it was the first time I had seen him or heard him speak on anything. And I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, like this guy knows what he's talking about. So I really, that caught my attention. And then I saw that the book revolves around how our past trauma affects our current day marriage and relationships. I'm like, wah, wah. If you're new around here, I feel like I've been on this journey to work through past trauma for forever. So I'm already in the middle of that. So when I saw, I'm like, oh, okay. So sharing authentically about past traumatic events they carried into their own marriages. Oh yeah, there's two authors, Steve Call. Sorry, Steve, didn't mean to leave you off of there. Sharing authentically about the past traumatic events they carried into their own marriages. From abuse and neglect to toxic shame and abandonment, they offer hard-earned wisdom that will strengthen any marriage, whatever its condition. Now, sometimes when you say the word trauma, don't be turned off by that in terms of like, oh, well, I didn't have anything like major happen to me. But if I asked, how many of us have some sort of trauma? The scene that comes to mind, and it's completely irrelevant, but in Home Alone 2, when little Macaulay Culkin, Kevin McAllister, he's checking into the hotel and he's telling the lady about he's like, man, sometimes I do get into trouble. And then he's like, we all do. And that's what I picture in my mind. Like, who of us has trauma?
We all do.
It could just be the way that our parents were when we were being raised. It just affects everything. So this has been super interesting. So there's a book and there's also a companion guide. I will leave a link down below in the description box that will take you directly to this site. It'll show you where you can get this. I'm going to read this here. It says, what if you could experience a marriage that is not just good, but truly life-giving? Therapists Dan Allender and Steve Call show how deeper intimacy can bring more healing and delight. Every relationship has its highs and lows, but we often don't know what to do with our lows or how we ended up there. What is creating friction, exacerbating our pain, and standing in the way of intimacy? More often than not, it is the stories of our past drifting into the present. I have found that to be true in just every aspect of my life. Just trying to figure out, what's causing this or this, and it always ends up being something from the past so you don't realize is creeping in. It says, but if we are willing to look at them closely, we will be able to write a new story for the future. Woohoo! In The Deep-Rooted Marriage and its companion guide, therapists Dan Allender and Steve Call offer profound insights into building a marriage that transcends mere satisfaction, promoting deeper intimacy and healing. These resources navigate couples through the complexities of interpersonal relationships, addressing past traumas to enhance present struggles with greater courage and compassion. Through key psychological principles and personal antidotes, the authors help partners disrupt harmful cycles of shame, judgment, and resentment, fostering a safe space for empathy, attunement, and respect for differences. With more than 70 years of therapeutic experience combined, Dan Allender and Steve Call demonstrate how God is inviting you and your partner to a wild faith journey with the hope of transformation. Through The Deep-Rooted Marriage and its companion guide, you will explore personal stories, key psychological insights, and practical advice to help you. Marriage is not merely getting along or resolving conflict through compromise. It reveals who you are and invites you to who you can become. So a little bit about the authors, because again, there's a million books out there on marriage. So why this one? So Dr. Dan Allender says he's a pioneer of a unique and innovative approach to trauma and abuse therapy. He founded the Allender Center to cultivate healing and train leaders and mental health professionals to courageously engage others' stories of harm. He continues to serve as a professor of counseling psychology at Seattle School. Dr. Steve Call is a clinical psychologist specializing in marriage counseling. And he also teaches master's level counseling students at the Seattle School of Theology and Psychology in Seattle, Washington. So here is companion guide. Here is hardcover book. I mean, as you can see, I've been working through it and highlighting things for myself. Let's see. Maybe I'll just pick something out here that I highlighted to share with you. Let's see. Understanding the past allows us to make sense of what's not working in the present. If we don't explore our earlier stories, we won't grasp how our histories of brokenness and beauty are playing out now, and we'll be bound to repeat them in one form or another. In a state of unawareness, we'll continue making efforts, but not in ways that lead to change. Just trying harder will keep us stuck in ingrained patterns that cause disconnection, and eventually we will conclude that change is not possible. Not engaging our stories is like cutting off the top of a weed instead of yanking it out by its roots. If we consider our marriages to be young trees we hope will grow and flourish, those weed roots will keep crowding our tree until we do something about them. Once we yank out the weed roots, our tree roots will get the nutrients they need. Our tree will receive life and strength. If we tend to the roots, good fruit will grow. The weed roots Steve and I are inviting you to address are the ways, means, and consequences of past heartache and trauma. You were formed in your earliest classroom by your family of origin in many ways you're unaware of. If you don't look deeply below the surface and see why you function the way you do and why you feel the way you do, you'll be letting those weed roots keep you from change. Healing, newness, deeper intimacy, delight. The hurts that shaped you may have been subtle and easy to overlook, but often what is common or normal remains like a small stone in your shoe. While it is not fatal, it compromises your capacity to walk well. And some hurts are not at all subtle or easy to overlook, and we need to see if we can invite more healing into those deepest places. So that was actually something I highlighted. Felt like that was a really good basis as to kind of what you can expect from the book. Just so much good stuff in here. So highly recommend these. Again, I'll leave the link down below if you are interested. And thanks for tuning in to check out this book review. Bye.